Hello, and thanks everyone for joining, and welcome to the first demo day showcase for Lisa Cohort 4. I'm Amit Srivastav, and typically I, along with my partner Diane, we take care of running these demo days. She's not well and so not on the call today, but some of you might have met her at the Mixer event and will meet her again in demo day 2. Before we get started, just a quick refresher of what the demo day is about. I know you might have read the emails, but they're really an opportunity for you to prepare your pitch. There are 3 demo day showcases in all throughout the cohort, and as you work through the program through Embark, you will be. I mean, there's an opportunity for you to sharpen and refine your pitch, make your pitch ready for the VCs for the final pitch session, and look at it also as an opportunity for you to see what the peers are doing and get feedback from the experts on the call. And today we have Alina and Steven, who are taking time off their busy schedules for the demo day. So Alina, Steven, do you want to just give any quick intro or words of advice?
Sure. Steven, do you want to go first since you're the first on the list?
Sure. Good morning, at least from my time zone. My name is Steven Aporta. I was a part of the Stanford Lead program, and I've worked independently for over 20 years in many different capacities, starting businesses, managing a venture fund. These days, working in about 11 industries total as my firm, and a lot of different investments in the crypto space as well, IoT, and very fun to hear your stories and see the progress that you've had so far. Thank you very much.
And I'm Alina. I'm also a fellow leader. And I have a background in both technical and business. This is my 3rd company, Artvioli, a carbon capture company. Prior to this, I had a nonprofit organization and software development company. And I also worked with angel investors, so groups, venture capital investors. I was head of VC partnerships in Europe. I worked with European Innovation Academy as a mentor and another capacity. And I've been involved with entrepreneurial community for over a decade in Silicon Valley, working with entrepreneurs and startups. So hopefully I can give you some meaningful feedback.
Thanks, Alina. Thanks, Steve, for your introductions. And so we have 18 teams today. So we will have a maximum of 2 minutes for your presentation, so that you get a chance to provide an overview of your startup project. And we will also be keeping the time and remind you 10 to 15 seconds in advance of the 2-minute mark. And this is the schedule that I shared with all the founders on the email yesterday. Just a reminder on what the pitch should look like, and I'm sure you have seen that and prepped accordingly, but just a reminder, what we would like to see is the inclusion of the progress that you have made in the last 3 weeks since you embarked on this journey, including what are the customer pain points you're solving, size of the problem, number of customers that you have interviewed so far, value prop, market research, and things like that. So with that, I will pause and get started. I think we have the first team. Pago, Amy, you are there? Yes, I can see Amy. Yeah, awesome. So I'll stop sharing. Amy, you can just you can share your screen, or if you have a presentation, or start sharing.
Yep, sounds good.
Pitch,
I can share as soon as you stop.
Yes, all yours.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Meet Allison. Allison is a millennial. She spends much of her time scrolling through Instagram aimlessly looking at photos, when what she wants to do is be more connected and spend her time in a more meaningful way. She's a young working professional in San Francisco. Her family lives on the other side of the country, and she struggles with isolation because of the pandemic. Allison misses visiting with her favorite person, her 95-year-old grandmother. Meet Dorothy. Dorothy lives in the Bay Area. She's 87 years old, and she lives alone. In her youth, reading fiction and learning about people's stories was her favorite, but she is no longer able to do that for long periods of time. She wishes she could meet more people. Like Allison, Dorothy misses social connection. Now meet Pago. Pago is a platform built on exchanging acts of kindness, where people like Allison and Dorothy can give and receive in various ways. Perhaps it's a walk with a neighbor you've never met, or playing a board game with somebody who's lonely. Pago is an online marketplace where people can exchange meaningful acts of kindness and create social connections. Pago also enables individuals to give to their community financially. 2/3 of Americans today are living paycheck to paycheck. One way Pago helps people in need is by helping them pay for their groceries. Neighbors can create a grocery list of items they need. Individuals click on the items they want to buy for someone on their behalf, and the purchased items are shipped directly to that person's home address. My name is Amy Pregel, and I have been in the fintech industry for more than 15 years in sales, product, and strategy. I have two co-founders, Alana Green, who has a background in nonprofit consulting and will focus on community partnerships, and Kadir Nawaz, who has broad technical expertise and will focus on laying our technical foundation. We are a public benefit corporation that is creating a kindness marketplace and local community exchange from those with means to those in need. Whether you have an interest in giving your time or financial resources, we welcome you to help us build this community.
Awesome, Amy. Well within 2 minutes. Thanks. Lena, you want to go first with your feedback?
Sure. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. This was a very sharp, crisp presentation, great slides, very concise. I like your story. You presented the profiles kind of in a very interesting way. It was good to see and connect with the personal profile and individuals and highlight their problems and have two-sided right market, the givers and receivers, so to say. Something that would be interesting to see as part of what I was expected to hear is a little bit more data or a little bit more research that can support your problem, right? So you can showcase like there's this many people. So when you put these numbers, it gives you more kind of shows the scale, the opportunity, the scale of this problem. So for the next presentation, if you can add those numbers and your market research numbers and the data, how to maybe amplify the pain points, but also to show the opportunity.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Sure. Good luck.
Thanks, Lena. Steve?
Yes, thank you. And so just to add on those items, I would say that I like this idea of some of the key exchanges are time and financial resources. Financial resources was a little bit more clear how people can give on behalf of others. The time piece wasn't exactly clear in the presentation. The size of the problem, I think it's very large. I don't know if you're going to even be able to estimate how big that is because it's such a new problem. Maybe in certain segments you will. Maybe with interviewing more people, you'll get a better sense of just how big this is. And let me see. Yeah, I think those are my key points at this point in time, but well done. It has a nice flow to it, and I did like the user personas. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amy. Next up is Haptic Band. Margaret, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, awesome. You want to?
I don't want to present. I just want to try and
You don't
speak.
present. Wonderful. No. Go for it.
All right. Okay. Hi, my name is Margaret Kesselman, and I would like to talk about our product. It's a haptic band from NeuroHaptics. What we do? We created a haptic band to solve the Achilles heel of the VR world, the motion sickness. Our product is working in 3 verticals: VR, medical field, and automotive. But we are now concentrating only on the VR. The VR field has been developing for the last 10 years. However, the adoption rate is still not there. The global VR video gaming revenues reached about $2.5 billion in 2020, while the video games market was over probably 160 billion. So there is a huge gap. And this gap, we think that we can help and solve with our product. So what is the VR haptic band? It's a wearable device that can be integrated into the current VR goggles and can replace the strap. By the 18 actuator motors there are creating a feel that where you sit on your chair in your room, you're actually doing whatever you see on the screen. So it's basically confirming that what you see on your screen is what you do in the real world, and eliminating this motion sickness by increasing your immersion. We did interview customers. However, we think that our best partners or primary goal customers would be corporations, gaming platform manufacturers, VR equipment manufacturers, VR game developers, and console and PC game developers, which we think is the biggest.
15 seconds more.
Alrighty.
Oh, yeah.
We're now at the stage of final DFM, and we're a team of 3 people with 2 of them had the previous experience of building and selling their companies. And if I have time, I'll tell you about it next time.
Thanks, Margaret. Steve, you want to go first this time?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. My first comment is that I think it's to connect what the haptic band does for the user. It's a little bit difficult to see that without a visual. I think it'd be nice to explain it very simply. I think that it sounds very interesting, but I'm not exactly sure what it does to bridge the gap in the market in that market gap that you discussed. In terms of the people that were interviewed, I think it would be nice to hear from their words what it was like. I don't know if you have an MVP or a demo product that you've actually had people use. Okay. Yep. So if you have, I think having those users help fill out the story of what the experience was would be very good. Okay. And then there's other things like the size of market, but I wouldn't worry about that too much until you can bring across how your product will close the gap. I think that will be there. And then, yeah, I think that for now, I think that's probably enough, but I would put together some sort of presentation to help. Thank you.
Oh, I do have it. I just had too many slides. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Alina?
Yes, just a few comments. So yeah, you have a lot that you want to talk about. It's an art to concise and put it all together. So that's a good exercise for you, because especially when you're trying to explain that, if you don't have supporting slides, you might focus or miss some information that might be easier for other people to understand. But I was just curious, do you have a prototype, or is it still a concept phase?
So we have an engineering prototype.
Well, at least if you just showed us the picture of that, that would be already helpful. And then you can add supporting information and talk about supporting details. And one thought is that when you jumped in and say, okay, well, there's $25 billion, like the market cap for VR, and then 160, the gaming, and there's a gap. So your assumption is that your product is going to bridge that gap. You need a little bit more work there, because investors are going to be a little bit skeptical about that. So make sure there's a nice and saying, okay, well, adoption, because there's the motion sickness is a big factor. So that's what you need to highlight. You need to show that your core problem, the why people are not using VR sets, is because they get motion sickness.
Okay.
Thanks, Lina. Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you.
Next up, Van Gui from Final Say. See you here.
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm going to present along with my co-founder, Eric. He's here as well. So we'll just go back and forth, okay?
Sure.
Okay, Eric, when you're ready.
So stating your last respects or writing a will can be at the very least uncomfortable. You reflect closely and clinically upon your own mortality, and you think about the value and distribution of your assets when you're gone. But once complete, your last will and testament and your final respects are some of the most important documents that you'll ever create.
So of the 19 interviews that we did, what were the challenges? There was Tina, 38, from Kenya, a divorced mother of 2, who said that she had limited knowledge of the reality of the cost of death. She didn't know how to dispose of some things like debt, and she had a bad experience with a lawyer that was tedious and ultimately expensive. We have Jane Doe, who's 42, from Canada, and the fact that she had to find a lawyer and pay for the lawyer made her push it off to be done later, which led to procrastination. And others felt that they were just too young to be having this conversation in the first place. There's the fear of death and the culture surrounding it. There's apathy. So thinking that you don't have enough assets or possessions to leave behind, and also lack of enough knowledge or education to enable them into the process.
So what's the size of the problem? I mean, death and dying are probably the least niche markets out there. Well, we looked at our market and we broke it down by demographics and specifically by age into 4 segments. They're over 60, 40 to 59, 25 to 39, and 18 to 24. We further narrowed down into the 30 to 55 demographic, and we noticed that the people who are the most keen are parents and people with dependents and people with wealth that they want to protect. An interesting thing that came out is millennials had a commanding lead with respect to their last respects concept.
Final Say would therefore provide a highly empathetic, simple, cost-effective, and informative avenue for people to document and distribute their final say by providing a service that educates them on end-of-life decisions, helps them put them down, brings in supporting services they may need, and finally makes their last wishes known to those that they choose. The end.
And
Awesome. Thank you so much. Alina, want to provide your quick feedback?
Sure. Hi, Angwi. Hi, Eric. So
hi.
This is a great problem. Actually, I have some things on my to-do list to arrange because between my husband and I, the different problem with kids and custody, and we need to assign. We have properly assigned someone in case something happens to my husband and I. We still haven't done that. But yes, this is a good problem to address. My thought was is that your mainly education problem, right? Like you're addressing education gap of this. There might be problems with access. There might be problems if somebody cannot afford the services. But mainly from what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that education problem, right? So you're trying to educate someone as a first step. And then you're trying to see, would they use the services and so on and so on. Is that, do I get that right?
Yeah, so we would definitely do it in parallel. So we would start with education as we are now building sort of the service, the website, the app that now helps them do that. So of course, once they have the information, then they can now use the app actually more, they can use it better. Yeah. So education usually is tough. Yeah.
Sorry. Just to add, part of what we want to do is that we actually want to create, a legal will, so that this is a document that can actually be used to distribute your assets. It's not simply for, kind of for show and for education only. It's a practical.
Yes. So I think once you have the next presentation, if you show, the problem seemed at least to me obvious. Like there's a lack of education, maybe lack of access or lack of, the resources for this type of services. Or maybe somebody doesn't maybe even wanted to do it, but they didn't know how to approach and who do that. For you are going to be the challenges is the education and market adoption, assuming your product will do its job, what it's supposed to do. So I think this will be the highlights for the main presentation to make sure you talk specifically how you're going to go to the market. You did a good job of breaking down the demographics, so that was good. And the specific sort of alignment of the market with the value proposition that you provide. And I can talk more, but I'm going to pause.
Alina.
Thanks, Alina. Steve,
like?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with Alina in terms of, I think your target market is very good. The age groups were discussed. Now, I don't necessarily see a tie between the age groups and what services you would necessarily provide that would be different between those layers. I was also going to ask if this is global or local, where you would start, because I do see a very important legal component. You're looking at custody, you're looking at asset distribution, insurance policies, private, personal, corporate, act of God, things like a tornado, hurricane, plane crash. There's all different types of things that fall into this potential category, even military, which I had to go through with my father. So I know that it's an interesting market, and I think that maybe focusing on certain market first and having some discussion about the legal piece. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you. Thank you for the
Thanks,
feedback.
Mango, Eric. Over to the next team, Meta Evans. Ioannis, you're here.
Yes, give me 1 second
Okay.
to present my screen.
Sure.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm Yannis, an undergraduate computer science student from Thessaloniki, Greece, and I'm the co-founder of Meta Events. We were working along with Kiris and Purma on this idea. Let's start with the basics. Having lots of online meetings sucks. We all had lots of online meetings, and we know how it felt. But why do online meetings suck? We can see Lectra, Christiana, and Emily having some real issues here, but we do not seem that big of a deal. People just have to get used to it. According to a Stanford article, the popular meeting platforms have design flaws that exhaust the human mind and body. These platforms haven't changed much. During the customer interviews we conducted, we found out that the following are the biggest issues people had. They could not do more than video calls, they had to switch tabs all the time in order to work during meetings, the communication with the keynote speaker wasn't good, and breakout rooms had to be used in order to talk one-to-one with someone else. Haven't you asked for a break from this experience? We are here for you. We build online personalized metaverse spaces for individuals and organizations. You may have heard the buzzword metaverse and how it would change the internet. I can tell you that we approach the use of it in a more realistic way. We build online spaces to save people from the exhaust of online meetings while making them more fun, interactive, and interesting. We also make them very easily accessible for you. Some may remember the lead verse created by Purma and Giris. You can see that in the picture. Our goal is to bring a supplementary service that would work as an alternative medium. It will be the coffee shop to your office. It will be used in order to make things a bit more interesting and less exhausting than usual. People can have the whole experience for free with some personalized ads inside their space. Otherwise, they will have to pay a fee. Thank you.
Thanks, Ioannis. Alina, want to give your feedback?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I think it was clear. Again, that what you're doing, you're semi-clear on the customer profile and customer persona. I was trying to understand if this is for end users or is it for businesses? Who's your main customer or who's your user? So users, people in the office or working in the office, right? Employees, but is your customer a business or individual?
Hi, Alina, this is Girish. So yeah, it's businesses primarily, but so far we've worked with non-profit organizations, but you could say organizations, not, but eventually there will be businesses. Yes.
Sure. I think this will be helpful if it comes up early. So you're straightforward. Okay, our customers are businesses. This is our value proposition to businesses and why we're sort of better than other alternatives for them, and then the users and the value proposition for users, because we got the user
Right.
side, but we didn't get the customer side, and why, you know, why would they switch from one service to the other.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lena. Steve?
Okay, so I do agree with the premise. Online meetings do suck. That's really good start. The metaverse space, I think it can be a benefit, and it's also a bit risky. I've seen a lot of different metaverse spaces which are interesting. I think the value prop within the metaverse space, I think you're going to have to articulate that just a little bit more as to why you will remove, why a meeting there will be better. Most of us in the lead program have been through the lead program metaverse, and
Yep.
there are still some quirks with it, right? But it would be good for you to articulate a bit more there. Walk us through it, sort of the customer journey. Why would my meeting not suck if I went through that? The other pieces are sort of size of market is still not quite there, but I think bringing in the business user probably helps to articulate that. And I think, you know, we may even have some combinations. Maybe some of these folks that you interview can use the haptic band while you're in the metaverse. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, we owe Margaret a conversation about that. We did have a chat, but haven't followed up. But and to your point about Virbela, the platform we're using for now can be accessed via browsers. So, and it's very easy to do. That's one aspect. But you're right. We should have highlighted those things ahead. Yep.
Sure. Thanks,
Yeah, sure,
Thanks,
try.
Jonas. Okay, up next, Tim and Norman from Voxter.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Happy gloomy morning from California. June came early this year. My name is Norman. I'm the co-founder of Voxter, and Voxter is based on the premise of an accelerating transition from an office-based work environment to an increasingly hybrid and fully remote work environment. And while the benefits of remote work are pretty straightforward, our interviews with employers and digital nomads, as well as traditionally remote employees, have shown that their pain points are scattered across a broader array. And where Voxter seeks to step in is at the very foundation of the workers' needs hierarchy, and that's providing adequate shelter. And that also serves as their work environment on a daily basis. So what Voxter offers as a solution is a community-centered platform for standardized corporate housing, which includes adequate home office capabilities on a standardized scale and digital support networks across the entire life cycle of a tech contract or a traditional job that is being executed remotely. The customer profile is based on a growing digital workforce that is expected to grow to over 35 million by the year of 2025. And what we seek to do is to apply the lessons learned and experiences from the digital nomad community that has also grown significantly to that upcoming digital workforce, and sort of creating that space in the middle where they can apply that knowledge and kind of skip some of the learning experiences that digital nomads are currently and have to go through.
So you have 10 more seconds to get done. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Norman. Steve, your feedback for Voxter?
Sure. Thank you. Good presentation. Just a couple of things. I think that there's a lot of folks that are tackling this, understanding what the new normal is in the hybrid workspace. there are some interesting reports that are out there that might supplement your knowledge base for this. What I would say is that when I think of this space, I think of, is this something that, is it an enhanced version of WeWork or Regis? I think you want to articulate a little bit more what exactly you're offering that's different, or are you partnering with certain firms to be able to offer a better experience? What is that better? What does it look like? I think just walk us through a bit of the product and how customers will feel. I think the problem is very broad and very real. I see a lot of folks that are trying to tackle it from different angles. I think the more specific you are in discussing that customer journey, the better it will be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Alina?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit lost trying to understand what is the exact core problem you're trying to solve. And I was trying to visualize what's the solution. And I was a little bit lost there. So I think the clarity and specificity, exactly what is the problem, of that integration or transition, because you would not be able to do everything at start. You'd need to start with something very specific. And if you say, okay, of all the problems that happen with this transition, this is the number one, and that's why we're going to tackle, and that's why we're going to start with that, and then you're going to expand into a broader range of offering products and services for this type of integration. And then another thought was, I would assume again your customers are businesses, right?
Primarily, but the end user will always be the employee, regardless through what channel. Yeah.
So I think it's a general comment for a lot of teams on the call. If you have a two-sided sort of market, when you have customers and users, and they're not the same, and a lot of that's the case, you'd also need to do interviews of the businesses, your customers. You do need to understand if you have users, if users have those problems, but at the same time, you need to understand if you have a value proposition, if there's a pain point for businesses, because you need to sell to them. So if you and other teams, if you can get some of those customer interviews and formulate value proposition for businesses, your presentation is going to be much, much stronger, because it's not just going to be a user. You know how you're going to sell if you know the value proposition to a business that you want to sell to.
Thanks, Alina. Thanks, Norman. Up next, Yuri from Project Fair. Yeah.
Thank you, Amit. Let me start with my presentation. So the initial project was Fair. So it was thought about some insurance rate story. But finally, after talking to our customers, we figured out that it's much less interesting than what we propose now. And if you would like to compare the differences, here are two core codes, so you can get full access to presentations as it was 3 weeks ago and now. So what is our story? So we can do pretty accurate climate models and prediction of extreme natural disasters through a combination of AI, actuarial mathematics, physics, economics, and so on. And the question was the following: how to sell it? And we figured out that it may be a good product to understand what you're really buying as a house. So are you buying something in forest and then in 30 years from now you can be in a desert? Or what kind of risks can you face with if you buy, say, a coastal house? So after talking to our customers, we figured out that when people buy a house, especially their first house, they are very interested in what kind of rebuild they should do, what are their investment risks, and what their house would look like in 30 years from now. So, and our target audience is 30 to 40 years old person, mostly men. They're much more receptive to this product, according to our survey. a family who are actually buying their first house in rich areas of New York, California, and Seattle. So, and they're ready to pay up to $300
You have 10 more
for
seconds.
detailed house level report of what will be there in 30 years. So we also analyzed our market, and it seems that market is pretty reasonable for the US. Thank you.
Thanks, Yuri. Alina, I want to give your feedback.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Yuri. Well, I'm already in love with I'm biased with your company because I tried to do this about 15 years ago and failed because there's no market. Nobody wanted to pay for it. I had a project I called My Earth Data, trying to consolidate environmental information in one platform and based on geographic location. And I struggled to sell it because people wanted to get it for free. In your case, because you have specific climate information, I think, well, so we can talk offline more, but at the high level, look into other potential customers, such as businesses. Someone who will be incentivized to pay money for their risk because they're already using consulting services. This is actually something what I do on the side. I consult on climate and sustainability. So you can provide this solution to consultants, to McKinsey, to everyone else as the tool that they can use in their reports. And also work with businesses to see how they can reduce their risk, climate risk, because it's a huge issue from internal operations, distribution, understanding where their customers live, and because that significantly affect their product positioning, marketing, and so on. If their customers, let's say, affected by these climate disasters or their distribution or their operations or so on. So that's just a little bit different angle for you to think about and look at, because selling it as B2B solution, it's going to be tough. So that's just something, or if you want to go through real estate, which I did, you'd have to also work with real estate agents or Zillow, Redfin, platforms like that. They could just license you a tool without you actually trying to sell it one by one.
Okay, thank you so much for your feedback. Well, right now we are working with AIG, which is insurance company, the French office, and also with US Department of Defense, because it seems that all of, for instance, permafrost models are mostly important.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Alina. Steve?
I think it's a very, very interesting niche of the market. I know that there are products like Redfin that already carry some of these. When you're looking to buy a house, you see flood risk, storm risk, all the similar factors to this. It'd be interesting to see how many different factors in your models and the type of technology that's used to generate this information. The question is, because insurance policies are priced, different types of policies are priced differently, whether it's for property or whether it's life insurance based on where you live, and how far out these models predict, because most insurance is bought for the longer term, usually, unless it's term. So it's definitely interesting. I'm not 100% familiar on how that works, but I think you've got something interesting here. And I would probably try to maybe, if you can, break out the market a little bit more specifically as to what you would offer in each one of these areas based on the type of data that you provide, at least guess, right? And then you can validate it with them. I think that's a good place to start. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we are right now working on like visualizing opportunities, because, well, it's actually my problem. I would like to buy a house and I would like to buy it in a certain climate, in a certain area. But what would be the climate in 20 years? So finally, to our customers, we also want to provide like a picture. What was your house, what climate was around, and what will be your house, what climate will be around. Well, I hope it's important. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yuri. Thanks, Steve. Up next, Girish, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Abhijit here. Unfortunately, Girish could not join.
Oh, hi.
Yeah,
Abhijit.
I'll just share my screen.
Sure.
You guys, sorry, it's not allowing me to share my screen. Can you slot me a couple of minutes later?
Sure, sure. You can come back later, Abhijit. Thiago, Saulo, Pondo Predict, you want to go next? Thiago, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
I apologize. So we are an HR tech based out of São Paulo, Brazil, and we're working with behavioral data science and headcount optimization. So sorry.
Saulo, you're again.
Okay. So any company with more than 1,000 employees, they will at some point face issues related to unwanted departures and daily scheduling of routines. So our goal is to liaise with HR teams and the company's main stakeholders such as CFO, and provide them using their own or using the company's data, provide them with solutions to reduce the voluntary turnover and improve work environment. At the same time, we're focusing or we're helping them with budget improvements and cost management. So looking at the problem, we first start with the headcount issues of unwanted departures. Then we build the quality of work environment and productivity, and combine activity number 1 and number 2 with budget and cost reduction. So based on the company's available data, as I mentioned before, we are providing a diagnosis and implementation solutions for the main stakeholders. So pretty much we're using data across the board, plugging into whatever available data the company has. And we are already rolling out 2 solutions for 3 paying customers. So we now have paying customers from different sectors. One is our main one is our main parking lot operator down in Brazil, listed on a local exchange, a global security company, and a food chain a restaurant chain. So our size, our SAM, our serviceable addressable market, comprises of any company with more than 1,000 employees with headcount issues, productivity, and margin compressions. Our business model works with a SaaS. So based on the headcount of the company, we have a SaaS, software as a service, a subscription fee model in place. And based on the complexity of data and customization, we also have we also provide we also provide a tailor-made solution with a performance fee linked to our activities. Right now, we have, as I mentioned, 2 products rolling out. One is the HR Cube, and the other one is the optimization model. But we have plans to tap into ESG, working with the data provided by the company, working on social issues. And as I mentioned, and as I'm presenting here, we already have a scale of revenue and targeted accounts. Thank you. Sorry for rushing. I'm the co-founder. My background is in finance, and my partner is Thiago, CEO with a computer science background.
Thanks, Saulo. You were a bit over. I will request Lena to provide her feedback.
Sure. Hi, thank you for the presentation. It was a clear, straightforward. You highlighted the important areas. One thing I was thinking is that since you were talking about the behavioral aspect, it would be interesting to highlight your kind of the key differentiating factor, like how you do it, what's your secret sauce? If you can, we can tell, like, is it AI based? Is it some kind of measurement? What's the measurement? How do you track that? Yeah, congratulations on having paying customers. That's awesome. I know how it feels. It's you can highlight that too. Any wins. So let's say you piloted or you have customers. This is the success that customers have. So if you have some metrics that you can show, so you talked about the value proposition is the turnover, right? If there's any metrics that you show, we have this many customers and this is the success metrics for them, then this is like this is just music for investors' ears to hear your customers are happy and they're getting what they want. So this is something that you can also put up front since you already have customers.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
Thanks, Lena. Steve?
Yes, very good presentation. I like the concept, and I think that right now, with the way workplaces are changing and how people are making decisions, this is a key topic. And I think that a lot of management, especially in firms that are larger than 1,000 people, this can get out of control. There may not be enough knowledge or budget to really understand the workforce like you would in a company of 50,000, but it's large enough where costs can get out of control if not monitored. I think I agree with Lena that the secret sauce, I think, is key. There's some data that your non-obvious relationships and information you can pull from data. There are some of the things that I think happen in high growth companies and medium growth companies, which is you have topics such as what's it called? Gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but roles and functions and scope creep have a lot to do with this area, and I'd be interested in seeing how your solution identifies some of these pieces and parts which are key to understanding the workforce. Other than that, yeah, walking us through an opportunity. And I would also put the presentation, I know that this is going to be in reals, but if it was in dollars, we get a better sense of the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Just an additional feedback, if I could ask from you guys. We don't want to sound, overconfident, but so far with what we've been doing with these 3 customers, we've been reducing their payroll costs by close to 20%. So, we only have 3 paying customers, so we just don't want it to come up and present a secret sauce based on so few samples. But should we do that?
Yes, you should.
Okay.
You should. If you have any success, if anything that works, you show this is what we're doing. We just started. We have this many customers just for this period of time, and we're already reducing by this much. So whatever you have, just show us the wins, early signs that there's something, you've got something.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
Yes, don't be afraid
Thank
to
you.
show your success.
Don't be shy. Okay,
yes,
got it.
don't be. No, there's no shyness in entrepreneurship. You need to raise money.
You're
you
right.
need to go in full on. Yeah, just
Okay.
any success that you can show, anything, any traction, even if you have testimonials from your customers, from your actual customers, that works as well. I mean, it's a short presentation. I think speaking is for everyone. It's a short presentation, but if there's something that you can highlight that shows your success, that they're doing something, you have a prototype, you have a customer, you have some valuable feedback that gives you credibility that you've got something. You're not just you're just starting, but you actually already have something.
Thank you. Valuable feedback. Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks, Alina, Steve.
Just one comment. Just one comment to follow up. For all the data points that you collect, those data points are driving towards some sort of solution or some sort of insight. Having that understanding, even if you're working with a certain type of company right now and you're providing those values, if you alternate to a different type of company, you might be able to use the same data points. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. I think the secret sauce for everyone is really no shying away in entrepreneurship. With that, I will call Abhijit, Parking Reimagined, for your presentation.
I can't share because I think someone is still something. Okay, it goes. Yeah, good evening, everyone. As the topic says, with the growing urbanization in the cities which are growing, still not prime growth, there is a tremendous stress on the parking infrastructure, and the traffic congestion has a potential to create a lot of side effects financially, pollutions, quality of life, and movement, especially for emergency vehicles, etc. So when we looked at the problem, what's happening is that because of the exponential growth in the urban areas and the cities and towns not planned, cities are getting more and more congested. And it has an impact economically as well as socially with emissions and other health effects. So looking at the approach, when we spoke to a lot of people, we feel that, okay, we can use technology to repurpose the whole problem infrastructure, which is related to parking, especially the street parking or the parking not in the plazas. So when we looked at this aspect, technology is one thing which can be used, and our mission is to decongest using the private and public infrastructure. This can be done by using a marketplace where we build out the supply chain, and we use the bowling pin approach to roll out this platform one by one. And our initial market is the bigger cities in the developing world.
10 more seconds.
The solution is pretty simple. Like you want to look out for an parking appointment, you join the platform, look at the parking, drive at the parking spot, check out, and if you like the experiences or if you're using this again, you can become a host too, or you can become a subscriber. Our journey basically is, we did a research, we looked at interviews, we spoke to about 100 people in India, we are still talking to people outside. We're doing the prototype and testing. Based on the prototype, we will come up with a unit economic model, which will then give us the economies of scale. And the model is pretty simple. The platform, you have host management, guest management, parkings, etc. And the revenue share, what we are looking at is, yes, we'll have some host or guest acquisition cost, the platform cost, the partner fees, and what will be left with the margin. Talking about the team, my colleague Girish, he has spent a lot of time doing professionals in the service companies. I myself, this is my 4th startup, 1 successful exit, 1 still in infancy, and we have a Lisa mentor, Alfredo, whom we are talking to. So that's the problem statement which we're looking at with the solution. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhijit. Steve, you want to provide a quick feedback?
Sure. So I think that the core problem you've articulated, and most people in larger cities can identify with that. I think a little bit more of a segmentation of your market, users and customers, probably be useful. Getting a little bit more data. You've interviewed a lot of people. I'd like to see what they've said and how you can approach. I also see you have a number of different services within your sort of that use case that you showed there before, the customer journey. And what I'd like to see is, what's your core service, right? What's the core service that you'll start with? I don't know if you'd want to start with all those in mind. It seems like it's a lot to start with. Maybe put them in an order of priority and how you would layer them as you start building out the platform. I'm thinking that there's a product called Park Hero. Here in the US, there's a product called Park Hero, which is about parking mostly. It doesn't do the other alternative transport and whatnot, but there may be, I think that your solution fully produced or fully built is a hybrid of several, but maybe where you would start and why would be good. That's all I have for now, and good customer journey there, showing us where you are in your path. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Alina?
Thank you for the presentation. I think to emphasize that the problem was obvious from the beginning. We need, as with urbanization, there's a problem with parking spots. The issue, geographical issue, I was trying to figure out, where are you trying to solve? Is it a San Francisco problem? Is it Mumbai problem? Is it, European problem? Because different geographies will have different issues with zoning, with parking, with infrastructure. San Francisco is overly saturated with parking apps.
Yeah.
I could think of probably 8 different parking apps. So there might be some specific areas, geographic areas that you're saying that the problem is they're not solved or cannot be solved yet, but we're going to offer something that what I picked up from you, you're saying leveraging existing infrastructure and they're currently not in use as a parking service. Is that right?
Right.
So in that case, you need to demonstrate how would you do that? Who owns that infrastructure? Is it a government, cities? So let's say there might be some off-school parking lots that nobody's using. You have to work with the city. The city needs to have approval and there needs to go through layers of bureaucracies before you can use that infrastructure. If it's somebody who is, in the hospitality, you need to figure out your go-to-market strategy. How would you work with one by one, customers to create these agreements, to create these contracts? So leveraging existing infrastructure is a great concept, but it's really hard in execution because you do need to get this sort of one-on-one partnerships unless you have a citywide solution that you provide for the whole city. But then the problem is that you're going to go in another city and it's going to be the same challenge of scaling. So if you can highlight this unique value proposition, not just for users, so users were great, users get it. I need a parking spot. I'll go in the app, I'll find a parking spot. But what are you going to do in the back end? And how are you going to create this infrastructure that will provide this additional parking spots? So basically, it's a great problem to be solving. There's lots of opportunities, but you need to show how you can actually do that by providing this additional infrastructure.
Yeah, just a quick answer to this question. The way we are trying to go ahead is we are first targeting cities like Mumbai and maybe some LATAM cities where we had few interviews. What we're trying to do is we are going to the housing societies or the residential complexes, and we are looking at things very close to hospitals or some cases where people come there for some time and that's where they need parking. And these infrastructures may not have full parking. So we are looking at the residential complexes near those things where I can just park my car for a couple of hours or maybe a few hours, go to work or have my work and then come back and pick up the car. So that's the first thing what we're trying to implement.
So this is great. You should start with that.
Okay.
This is the exact problem. This is the exact problem we're solving in the exact, area, geographic area. And then later you can scale up and you can show your path. But they say this is the exact problem. This is our exact solution. This is who we're going to partner with. And then it becomes real.
Yeah.
So yes. Thank you.
Thanks. I knew that at the start.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steven. Thanks, Abhijit, for your presentation. Next up, Ron.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, so let me preface my presentation here. Let's see, start by share. Okay. So I purposely removed my TAM-SAM analysis, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. Can you all see this?
Not yet.
Can you see my screen now?
No.
All right, how about now?
Yes, now we can. Yeah.
All right, so I had mentioned, I purposely removed my TAM, SAM, and my financial information, and I'll tell you why when I get done with this. So in 1990, I met a girl. I asked about her dreams. She said, I dream about a husband, a house, a dog, a garden, and kids. Our dreams matched, so I married her. We had a great wedding. We bought a house with a white picket fence, a puppy, made a garden. A year later, Nancy, my wife, was pregnant. And then I got fired from my job. I was disappointed, hurt, and angry. The next day, I opened my own brokerage firm, and I vowed never to get fired again. Within a few years, I'd grown the company to 10 people. In retrospect, though, I was in the right place at the right time. I was successful because I was good in selling. And then one day, everything stopped. The market changed, customers stopped calling, banks wanted their money back. My solution was to borrow more money to buy time. And so when you're a stubborn optimist and in sales, you can begin to develop your own reality. Expensive money and bad loan terms don't seem that bad. 9 months later, I lost our little house on the beach. We kept the dog, but sold our stuff. Our dream had crashed, but not our hope. To survive and pay back the loans, I did a lot of gig work. I always had more than one source of income. So to me, this was normal. My name is Ron. I'm a husband of 4 millennials in college and the founder of the Lead Gig Economy. When I looked at the cost of university education, I found myself having that same feeling I had years ago when my brokerage firm stopped working. My solution to pay the universities was more gig work. When I got accepted into Stanford, there was no way I was not going. Again, my solution to pay the fees was more gig work. This was my plan to get my money back, except I was going to immediately monetize the learning. This was the birth of the Lead Gig Economy. I aim to disrupt and transform the executive education space with corporate gig work. I'm asking you to invest your time and money with me to help change this world.
Thanks, Ron. Alina?
All right.
Hi, Ron.
Hi,
thank you for
Lena.
the wonderful, beautiful story. So Ron and I would know each other, and I've been helping him with some of this for some time. So nice to see things are moving along. I think, so the story is wonderful. Unfortunately, we had such a short period of time that I don't think people actually understand what you're trying to do.
I know.
You didn't get to the meat. You didn't get to the meat.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a beautiful story. I think maybe it makes sense for you just like take 5 seconds to actually explain what are you trying to do for everyone with the Lead Gig Economy at Stanford.
Yeah, thanks, Selena. So what I was trying to do, I took all the financial TAMs and that information out. Because here's the question, and Stephen, you can help with this as well. So is pitching about building founder trust, or is it to present the product and service, or a combination of both? Because if I'm trying to build trust, I want to get to the next meeting. And then at that next meeting is when I'm saying, here's the infrastructure. Here's what we're doing. But anyway, that's why I'm here, is to learn this.
Yeah, from my perspective, you need to give enough information for investors to be interested. So at the very least, they need to understand what you're doing. Because if they do not understand, they're going to be confused. They're going to walk away. It's like, why should I take the second meeting? Right. So the very basic is that super clear. You don't have to talk much, but with the points like the problem, solution, the value proposition, just enough to get the teaser, if it's a very short meeting, to get to the next one. And of course, if you can take the beautiful story, if you can tailor that in, that's of course added bonus for that.
Yeah,
Stephen.
Thanks, Lena. Steve?
Sure. So yes, I agree. I think the story starts well. I think I would be guessing to think that this is sort of a gig type temporary work for executives to engage in, but that would be great if it's part of your story and how you're telling it. I think it's a good segue the new normal of where the economies are and how people are choosing to live their lives more remotely. I think they're more open to gig type work. It's very important. It's probably the line item that got most decimated in most countries through the pandemic. So I think there's needs for this. I'm saying generally, not only executive gig work, but just all the gig economy was decimated in many countries. So I think you've got something to work with here. I'm looking forward to see the next presentation to give you more substantive feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lena, if we can speak offline on, I'm not certain how much I have oodles of financial information and analysis in this space, and to tell the story properly without, spending 4 hours doing it. So anyway.
Sure. Happy to chat. And this goes for other teams as well. If you'd like to follow up online for any questions, feel free to do that.
Thanks, Lena. Thanks, Ron. Up next is Gabby.
Hi.
Hi, Gabby.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, so my name is Gabby. I am the creator of the Get This Done journal, the only time management tool that brings together the best organizational strategies and a digital platform to help you execute what is truly important, moving away from the frustration of not having done enough to getting closer to the certainty that you are progressing and that you are enough. Since 2019, we have sold over 4,000 units of the journal all over the world. In 2021, we incorporated the Gratefulness Journal and accompanied companies and entrepreneurs go from idea to action. We have a community of over 16,000 people and a solid team that has allowed us to become a profitable business. We have a 35% retainer and around 12% of our sales come from referral code. And all these have been built mostly organically. And although all the above is true, it is also true that we are still spending a lot of time selling the journals one by one through Amazon, retail, and our own e-commerce with an average ticket value of $40. We feel that we are ready to scale, but we wonder how we can help more people achieve their accomplishments with less effort from our team and faster. So with that intention, in 2021, we created the Productivity Week. This is an intensive learning experience that is 5 days, that in 5 days help professionals and entrepreneurs that are feeling overwhelmed change their mindset from do more to make more progress. During this week, people get to make a full stop on what they're doing and take the time to make a life inventory, make analysis to discover what really drives them at this moment in life, and then work still during the program on a detailed, purposeful action plan. So in an ocean of pre-recorded courses, we are still going to a full immersion live course. It is a program with a proven success. In 3 editions, we have brought together more than 500 students who have evaluated the experience with a Net Promoter Score of 9.7 over 10, with an average sales ticket of $300. The key here is that 93% of those participants end up purchasing the journal, whether they buy it from the beginning of the course or they purchase it at the end of the program. That's the reason why we are looking for an ally to help us take this business to the next level, turn this program into something massive that not only includes live sessions, but also a follow-up service by subscription that allows us to create and capture more value. Ideas belongs to those who execute on them, and we are happy to be the ones who boost the projects of others to become true. So the question is if somebody would like to help us to make ours bigger. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabby. Steve, you want to go first?
Yes. So it'd be very interesting to get a little bit of a sense of what the journal contains. You sold a lot of them. I'm curious to see what sort of advice or what sort of information. I mean, to sell over 100 books on Amazon is quite a feat from people that I know who are authors. So to be in the thousands is commendable. I would also ask you, what types of revenue lines are you envisioning beyond this intense 1-week boot camp and the journals? And when you say you want sort of you want to expand and scale out, I think it's going to be dependent on the services. I would suggest having a sort of a plan on how you would scale out some of these services. I would also suggest that where most of your, I would say now it's a lot of it's product driven and journals in the center of everything. I think if it's a service driven opportunity here to really accompany those clients, not only that buy the journal, but you accompany with them in some sort of consultative type service at a reasonable cost. I think that might be something of interest. But it sounds very good, and I think in a further presentation you may want to have some slides with a bit of your revenue model and what your customers have been saying, and show us that success. We know there's some success there, but it would be great to articulate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Alina?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. There's a lot of content. I was just trying to follow and process everything in my head with all the numbers. I think for the final presentation for sure, but if you could put some slides where you can capture these numbers, at least capture these numbers, it'll be easier for people to follow as we hear, because we only have so much mental capacity to take that in. And we could also give you more meaningful feedback. From what I'm hearing, and by the way, congratulations on business running full speed. From what I'm hearing, where you are right now, you have customer acquisition problem, and not so much problem, but you're trying to get more customers, you're trying to gain more traction, right? So in that case, the same exercise that we did and all of the teams did on the customer journey, understanding customer profiles, who they are. Once you get that in, you'll be better with your customer acquisition because you know who to target, you know how to market, and data is your friend. So just getting more data, creating different profiles, getting more data, understanding which channel will give you better conversion rates, and just going out that way. And then when you are pitching, you can also be a little bit more specific. We're looking partnerships and allies in this direction dimension, because right now it's like, okay, I have no idea how I can help you yet. But if you have more specific bullets or items, or in any way, it will be easier for all of us to understand. It's like, oh, okay, well, I know this person or I know that person. This is what we can do to help you. But formulating from the point of, we have customers, we're growing, we need to acquire more customers. This is our program, this is our product and services that we offer. Giving your demographic, giving your profiles, it'll be easier with getting some data. There's lots of data online. Getting the data, it'll be easier for you to channel your customer acquisition strategy.
Thank you. I would like to ask just a quick question. Building up what Stephen said and also what you just said, we do have a wider vision for this project, of course, on a service-based kind of platform where entrepreneurs and professionals have like all the services that they need to actually convert an idea into a project, such as designers, programmers, and everything that they would need at a lower cost and also lower risk. The point is that I feel that making this specific program massive at this point is like a midpoint to get there. So I don't know if I should talk about that vision, but focus on making this bigger and prove the methodology, so then we can just jump into the next level. So that was not clear for me. I am clear about the vision. I just feel this is like a previous stage where we are at now.
That's completely fine. This is what we're doing right now. That's what we're going to do in the future. when you show us something that already works, because that's what investors wanted to see. Because if you're just selling the vision without telling me what works right now, it's really hard for them to get that to bridge that gap. But say, this is what works right now, and this is our path, what we want to do in the future. So that's absolutely fine.
So just one comment there. You already have paying customers. If you just ask them what was the best part of the product that they purchased from you, and you send out a survey, would they be willing to pay for other services? You have other technology platforms that you can potentially lever rather than building out, for example, an executive gig economy platform that people can hire these folks. So whether you have it in-house or outsourced, but I think you want to go to those people who have already purchased There's a well-known generic strategy in sales, which says that your client base should be 80% return clients. If you can do that, you'll be successful. The question is, what's going to take the people who bought the book or went to the camp, to the boot camp, to come back to you? That would be my first question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabby, Steve, and Alina. We'll go to the next one. Mesret, are you here? Anyone from team of Lala? I couldn't. If not,
Yes.
we go on to the next one. Oh, you're there. Oh, sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't see you.
here.
Okay.
So
go
yeah,
for it.
Maseret is not available. He's sick today, so I'm covering for him.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Right. So do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, we can see. Yes.
All right. So my name is Shoto Abebe. I'm co-founder, co-CEO of Sawasu. It's an indigenous local content platform, and we're recently launching a content-driven marketplace platform. That's what I'm going to talk about. So a little bit of context. Currently in Ethiopia, online shopping happens like this. Sellers advertise their products on different social media platforms and channels. People surf through those channels and place their orders via making phone calls, and sellers then deliver their products. We think this is problematic for both sellers and buyers, because for the sellers, it requires expertise in content authorship. It's costly and it's messy to manage their posts across different platforms and channels. And for buyers, it's difficult because they have to surf through different channels and they cannot make informed decisions because the content is not professionally authored. So this is where Sawasu comes in. Sawasu is a multi-language local content platform. We have launched it 5 years ago. We have had some decent traction around it. We have a vibrant community and expertise in content authorship, and we want to bring this authorship to the new platform that we want to launch. It's called Aulala. We think it works best for both buyers and sellers, because for sellers, it gives them a very powerful and vibrant community and expertise in content curation and writing. And for buyers, it gives them a single point of shopping, as well as it gives them a good shopping experience because it gives them background information about the product they are attempting to buy. So the market is big. We are 120 million people, 25 million of them are online. People are making millions of birr already, and the market is expected to grow 17-fold in a recent study. This is a team. We have been together for years. We have diverse technical expertise and rich startup experience. We want to team up with investors who are interested to work with us. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Lena, you want to provide your feedback?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. Very nice put together. Thank you for giving the background on the markets and how things work in your neck of the woods. It's always helpful to understand the background information. Some of the thoughts that I had. Okay, first of all, again, are you in the prototype stage? Do you already have products and services deployed? Is it it's something that's easier to understand if you're just planning to do something, or you actually already have a platform marketplace, so it's already running, right? Okay.
Yeah, Sawasu is already running. It has been 5 years, and the platform Aulala, we have also a demo product deployed. You can visit it at aulala.com. It's already there.
Okay, so this is something that would be good to know for everyone. If you already launched, if you already have something, just put the data out there. Tell us what you have, what kind of customers, how many daily active users, how many, what's the traction, if you have any, and what if there's a specific products and services are sold on your marketplace, or is it just like a Craigslist open for everything for anyone? Do you have a niche?
Yeah, the product that we have launched recently is actually a demo product with some dummy products. The reason we are doing that is to experiment with the design process that we are following currently. So while we are interviewing our sellers, we demonstrate that product with dummy products. Other than that, we are not yet in the selling stage. We are just have a demo product.
Sure. But then when you, the good thing about, well, you have two-sided buyers, sellers, right? So you need to say, okay, who are the buyers? What do they want to buy? Is there any specific products that they will go to marketplace, or who are the sellers? And it's the customer profile and the same exercise that other teams are working on. If you can showcase and show them what kind of customers you will have and users you will have, then it'll be easier for you again to talk about your next challenge is the customer acquisition strategy, right? Because you'd have to bring both buyers and sellers on your platform. So once you create this profiles, personas, and maybe you can have some potential customers from partnerships or government. If there's no existing platform similar to what you're doing, then it will be easier for you to bring more customers and users, because since that's going to be your next step, validating your product and getting more traction.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah, that's a great feedback, and we will include that the next demo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lena. Steve?
Yes, just kind of to reinforce what Lena was saying, just to understand your customers a little bit more, what they're saying about the product, if they've seen it, if you've had any of those user or customer interviews, the value proposition. How many other sites like this are there in the market? This is an e-commerce site. Do you foresee any potential impacts if this is going to be more of like an Alibaba type site? Do you have any supply chain concerns? Just that may be a little bit too far ahead right now, but just to think about, what markets or niches will you be approaching? What do you think is the size of the market, given the type of products that you're looking to sell here? Revenue model, will you have advertising? Will it be strictly transactional based? The other thing is that most of these sites, they also become the intermediator financially. So they remove risk for buyer and seller, because there's a financial responsibility from the website or from a third party that acts on behalf of both. So just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Up next is Shrikant. Shrikant, are you there?
Yes, I'm
okay,
going to
awesome.
share. All right.
Also, just since we have, we can see Shrikant. Just a quick word. We have 8 more teams to go and 35 minutes. So any follow-up? Let's take the feedback. Let's not have follow-up conversations, so that we are able to accommodate everyone today. Thanks. Shrikant, begin.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Shrikant Rajan. I'm the founder of Identity Security Company, and the theme of our product is to integrate, monitor, and automate identity threats. So as per IDSA, today, 94% of security breaches are identity related. The security landscape is a complex mix of multiple point solutions, identity sources, devices, SaaS applications, and the number of identities is growing at a lightning speed, causing unprecedented security challenges. As per Gartner's prediction, by 2023, most companies will rely, about 40% of companies will rely on managed service providers. So the challenge is to centrally manage the controls and the security problem, and this creates too many blind spots and gaps. The reason being, you have multiple point solutions solving the same problem. For example, most companies have a separate point solution for authentication, and a separate solution for identity governance and administration, and a separate solution for privileged access management. So companies lack the right skill sets to stitch the data together. And the way they handle the operational problems is by manual remediation or a bunch of scripts, which is not sustainable and also increases the operational costs. So our idea is to bring an order to the chaos, come up with a platform that integrates multiple sources and provides a simplified, consolidated view wherein customers can—
10 more seconds.
Yeah, customers can have their KPIs and the performance metrics, and then also be able to monitor on a real-time basis and troubleshoot and remediate identity threats, which improves your which brings down the risks and improves the security posture. And the key differentiator is to provide pre-built low-code, no-code automation assets based on machine learning and artificial intelligence that the customers can start using from day one and reduce their costs. So the market needs innovative solutions to prevent major incidents like SolarWinds and Okta breaches. Thank you.
Thanks, Shrikant. Steve?
Yes, so I work in this space and I see the translation of policy down to threat mitigation in supply chain illumination. I like the space that you're in. There's a lot of competitors. I don't know if I fully see, to talk about ML and AI as a differentiating solution, that's not going to be enough in this space. You really have to show something that's truly innovative with respect to everyone else that's in the space. So just think of that. Think about the users and the type of things that will make you stand out as an organization. That would be my feedback. Great, good presentation, though. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Lena?
Yes, great presentation. Thank you. Just want to echo, I was thinking about what's the differentiating factor. And then at the very end, you said AI. I'm like, well, what is it? How do you do it? Because there's a lot of, it's a crowded space. There's a lot of claims that some companies do what they intend to do, but there's not, there's still a lot of issues trying to resolve. If you can, again, pinpoint to something very specific, say we're targeting this problem, this is exactly what we're addressing, and it's something that other solutions are not providing. But overall, good presentation. Just looking forward to the next steps.
Thank you for the feedback. And the idea is to bake in the service into the product. So identify some generic use cases and build some automation assets that companies can use from day one, right? So that's where we are going. But you guys hit the nail. So thank you very much for the feedback.
Thanks, Shrikant. Armin, I can't see Armin on the. If Armin is not there, Abhi and Abhi for Plume. You want to go up next?
That's right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yes, it is Abhi and Abhi. My name is Abhi and my co-founder is also Abhi. We are joining in from London. Let me share my screen. It is quite patchy, this one. I don't know if you can see it.
Not yet.
Gosh. I guess it's the first time I'm sharing my screen on Zoom. Apologies. Right, can someone else go before me, please? I need to rejoin the meeting, quit and reopen.
Sure.
Sorry,
No worries. Mukhi, are you there?
Yes.
Your insights. Okay, you want to go next?
Sure. Okay,
Just a second. Okay, am I audible and is my screen visible?
Yes. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you. Okay. So how many of you wondered, if we have come across a situation where you hit a roadblock in the career which you are in as of today? It could be sometimes, when we start a career, or it could be in mid of the career where we are progressing, or it could be, where you build a skill in parallel and then you wanted to project yourself and then get into the. And there are situations where, the way how you present yourself and then how people see and then how the feedback is being given plays a major role in shaping up the way how we project and then grow. There are cases where people go and then meet their alumni folks or get along with people who are already crossed the path, or there are hundreds of ways where you can get to a point of where you stand today and where you are projected yourself to. The problem comes when things are not moving the direction which you wanted to do. That's where the roadblock hits, and then it hits you, and then it sometimes makes you feel that what is the next action which you have to do, and then directionless movement. Neo-social is a way where connecting people who have these progressions, especially software professionals who wants to transition to management. And Gartner says that by 2030, around 80% of the management needs are not required to be there present. To build the wave against and then to make people still have their goals of getting into management and how effectively they can progress, we provide solution by having data of interactions and then the way data is collected from people as a person who wants to project their career, and then the people who are already progressed and then achieved. So
10 more seconds.
it would be more of the collection of data which would be there, and then the neuroscience would be used to ensure that the way how the data is presented to you to make and achieve your goals. Yeah, and looking forward for getting connected and then shaping up this idea to a reality in future. Thank you.
Thanks, Mukhi. Stephen had to step out. So Alina, can you please provide your feedback?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. I can hear you're visionary. It's a challenge to connect with the audience and transfer your vision into something that's easily digestible by us normal, regular people. So I think what might help your story is to actually have some of this, typical user profiles, and then speak about a problem, not just, well, have you or does anyone have this issue of getting progressed and stalled in a career or, figuring out their path, but give some specific kind of like, I don't say concrete examples, but the journey, customer journey or user journey, and they say, well, okay, this is how their path starts. And then with the data, supported with the data, we see that somewhere along this track, there's these type of user profiles. They're getting sidetracked, they don't get to their goals, and maybe there's statistics like 70, 80, 90% of people are not satisfied with where they are, or whatever that is, right? But then you can give us these concrete foundations that it's not just something, nebulous, but something that you bring down the very specific through user profiles, their journey, and then pinpointing a very specific problem that you think you can help solve, because there might be different issues why somebody's not happy with their career progressions, or maybe there's a skill, education, there's a social side, lots of different problems, but you'll pinpoint one or maybe a couple areas and you say, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tackle this issue, this problem as part of this journey. And the value proposition, the offering is such that we're going to use this neural something that I don't understand, what you're going to do. But yes, I think the challenge for the next presentation is to formulate this concepts in a little bit more concrete way, so it's easier for us to understand what
Hola, buenas. Os voy a enseñar cómo acceder a los datos fiscales a través del sistema de clave PIN.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lena. Thanks, Muki. Abhi, are you?
Yeah, we'll try again.
Okay, awesome.
It seems to work.
Go for it.
And share. Right. Does that work?
Yeah, it works. Awesome.
Excellent. Okay, so hello again, everyone. Abby from London. I think the best way to share with you about how we came up with this Project Plume is to take you through our journey. So it started with asking, do you recycle your old used clothes? I do. I'm sure most of you do. It feels good, right? However, let me give you the reality of that. Less than 1% of those garments get recycled into new garments. And about 60% of those produced every year go to landfill. That's 60% of 32 billion garments produced every year. So maybe I can ask you any guesses on that one garment that is not processed by charities? Of course, bikinis, but if you guess school uniforms, that's the right answer. So yeah, we thought of how about changing something here and making a little dent. So we ventured out with some questions. Why not produce these sustainably from step one? What if we can commit to 100% recyclability on those garments? And how about making it at the right price point and making it convenient for the user? So those were the questions in our mind. So we went out to interview sets of parents to understand their buying patterns and also their eco-consciousness or sustainability values. And we've spoken with a few, and that's how we came to understand our key persona, who's a mother who cares. What she really needs is convenience to recycle that doesn't exist today,
and more seconds
commitment, and it should be at an affordable price point and very good quality. So this is us, Abby and Abby. That's our experience, and we know there is a problem that we want to solve. We know why we want to solve that. We know who is our target customer. We've understood that until now. Next steps are, what is it that we can offer to them, and how are we going to convince them? Thank you.
Thanks, Abhi. Alina?
Sure, thank you for the beautiful presentation. The slides are really well done. It's enticing to watch and engaging. To want to see what's coming.
Fashion startups, so we got to do it.
Fashion startups, yes, we can tell. Yeah, back to like the very specifics, and then so the story is beautiful, the narrative is wonderful. Like you're trying to make a dent in the clothing garbage industry, essentially. You pinpointed a very specific kind of like area of the school clothing. It would be nice to see if you can show what percentage of that clothing contributes to overall pileup. I know you say like, okay, well, so yeah, if there's a yes. So if there's a way for you to say, well, this is a big problem because there's this many schools, there's this many uniforms, there's this, kids are changing it every year because they're growing, every year is getting thrown away. So kind of like show us the actual pain. And then when you talk about, I'm sure you have that information. When you talked about parents, there's parents inside of what kind of a pain point it is for parents to find, uniform, or maybe there's uncomfortable uniform, maybe there's something else about the uniform that the feedback that you got from parents that you can incorporate is augmenting the pain point. That's kind of like on the story, right? And then specifics on your market strategy. Like you need to show a little bit more data. So customer segmentation is great, but what would be the backbone operations business model? How are you actually going to do that? So that was the question. Like, how do you have a plan yet, or is it still in the development?
We'll be in the next demo pitch, number 2.
Sure. But this is something like, okay, this is our problem. The problem is great. I have not heard the solution. So when you get to the solution, they'll be like, this is how we do it. It's not just the uniform, but the solution is how we do this. How do we get this uniform? What did this uniform mean? It's going to be beautiful. We can tell, but
it's
how
intentional.
is it going to be?
We wanted to stick to the Embark platform. So we do know, but we didn't want to share now. So you will see it.
Sure. Thank you. Looking forward to hearing that.
Thanks, Abhi. Deepti, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Abhi. It was great presentation. And I don't know if you know, but I've worked myself in the fashion industry for more than 12 years. And it's a huge problem of recycling. I would say, I agree to whatever Alina right now said, but there's one more aspect to what you're trying to do, which is you're targeting your persona as mothers who are actually, kind of buying uniforms. But what you might want to also look at is your customer is these moms or parents, or is it actually the schools? Because eventually where it can be recycled is schools, right? They could offer on a rental basis or something of the sort. Like, I'm just giving you more ideas around how to kind of think about your persona and not really get stuck with the persona that you already have in your mind. Second thing that I was personally missing was, which I assume that your market is UK or London, but I think it's always nice to kind of talk about it, like India, UK, the world. Where are you? What is the market segment you're kind of talking about? Another good point, I think Alina already mentioned that what's your, the bringing some stats inside, but also not just the stats of what is the problem, but why that problem exists. In fashion in particular, there is a certain reason why recycling is not happening, because it's very costly to recycle. So if that is the case, how would you actually go about and solve for that problem? What is different about you, and what is the approach that you're taking in terms of maybe supply chain, logistics, or making it a rental, or whatever you're thinking about? That's a very important catch here to kind of talk about. Maybe you haven't reached that stage, but yeah, these were some just ideas you can explore.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Some great feedback.
Thanks, Deepti. And thanks, Abhi, for the nice presentation. Up next, Anjan from Wealth Next Gen.
All right, thank you very much. So my name is Anjan.
Abhi, do you want to stop? Sorry, Abhi, you want to stop presenting?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Thanks.
I don't have slides, so it's still good to have that clean up. So my name is Anjan Zhou. My team and I have spent the past decades in the investment management industry and observed firsthand the challenges faced by financial advisors. With the great wealth transfer under the way, it's expected that over $30 trillion of wealth will be passed to younger generations in the coming decades. That brings unique challenges and opportunities. Based on conversations with the financial advisors in their mid-careers and some of the broad-based industry surveys, it is believed that financial advisors struggle to keep up and would prefer to outsource portfolio recommendation and management to those who can bring institutional quality services to them and their clients. Additionally, there is an increasing desire to better understand Gen Y and Gen Z and meet their needs and wants. In the marketplace right now, most existing products offer a small set of options designed for older generations and do not incorporate digital assets in the policy mix, in the portfolio mix. So my team and I aim to create a wealth tech application for financial advisors with a focus on providing personalized financial planning and portfolio recommendations, including digital assets. The app will offer institutional quality sophistication to financial advisors and their clients at a lower cost. Our default target market is independent broker-dealers in the US although we keep our eyes open in terms of expanding the services to other parts of the world, and or pivot towards servicing individual investors directly. Thank you very much.
Awesome. I was just about to say you have 10 more seconds, so on time. Great. Alina, you want to go ahead and provide your quick feedback? Oops.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I think overall the problem is more or less clearly formulated. There are a little bit of some might be questions on if you can profile more the financial advisors themselves. So you provide them. So you focused on the smaller scale, the broker dealer, kind of like lower end. Is there any geographic location or country in particular that you're targeting, that you're focusing on? Because I would assume there's advisors, and US might be quite different advisors than somewhere in East Asia or somewhere in Africa. So if you can highlight what is your at least go-to market, what geographies, and from the tool itself, it might be helpful to see if you have any kind of information what the tool itself entails. Is it just a one-way tool only for financial advisors, or is it the tool that financial advisors will use with their clients? So that wasn't exactly clear. So the interfaces are going to be both and two-and, or just one kind of like a one-sided only for financial advisors. And if that's the case, then of course your customers are going to be financial advisors, but your users are also going to be their customers. So there are going to be additional set of users. So then you would need to kind of like understand the problems and pain points and needs of both. And interesting aspects of bringing the digital, so expanding to digital portfolio, just if you can formulate that in some sort of visual presentation, it will be helpful to see like what the tool itself is going to have. Is it one-sided, two-sided? And if you have any kind of financial advisor interviews, the feedback, testimonials, problems, what are they currently used, what they're not used, why they're using, why they're not using, so you can show that why there is this opportunity there for you specifically to go into.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elena. Deepti, any quick feedback?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Anjan. I think it was very, very clear the problem that you're after. But I always tell whoever I speak to normally that, it's three lenses that you can look at every problem. One is the technology insights, consumer insights, and the value chain insights. Technology insights is something that we're very clear on. In terms of consumer insights, what you're talking about is that, Gen Y and Gen Z, whose needs are maybe not met. But you also said this is the interest where everybody's going towards, but you didn't really talk about the consumer's need itself as to what is it that they need advice on, what is not being covered at the moment, where's the gap in the market. So if you kind of talk about that, that's going to be very helpful. At the same time, you talked about lowering the fees, which nobody else is doing, where you would need to talk about maybe some sort of value chain. What are the gaps right now where everybody else is not focusing and you are focusing, and maybe that's where and how you're able to reduce the fees. And I think other things, of course, Alina already covered, so I wouldn't just go into it again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Deepti. Thanks, Anjan. Javier, I saw you are back now, so you're up next. I know we might need a few more minutes than the 2 hours that we had slotted. I hope it's okay for Alina, you, and Deepti at least.
All right, I am sharing my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it. Go ahead, Javier.
All right. Hello. Javier here. I will put together all of the data the next time, but today I'm going to tell you a story that probably you all know. It's the story of when we want to get a job, we don't get it, and we don't know why, and we don't get feedback from the employer, so we don't know how can we improve, and that is the reason for Pascal. Pascal is an app. It's a working app right now that basically helps to get feedback from the companies, so you can learn what you should do better. You just create an empty opportunity, get a form, and then you submit anonymously to the company.
so the company can let you know what can you improve, like technical wise, personal wise, or soft skills. Important things for the company. They don't have to invest quite a lot of time in order to provide the feedback. Then it's legal safe for the companies because they don't tell you something bad, and it's really good for the employer brand perspective because they are doing something that they really want to do, but they have no time. I have made something like 30 interviews to HR managers from different companies, something like 100 interviews to potential employees. The problem is real. The reason for not having a solution in place is lack of time and lack of safe space for the companies, and we believe that we can do it. The app is built in no code, and it works. You can just play around with it. You see how it does work. They create a QR code if it's in a physical interview, or a different code if it's on a virtual one. It's totally anonymous from the company perspective. And what I would like for the Lisa team is to challenge to find a new way to get into different markets, because I realize that if this is that easy to implement, why don't do it outside from Spain? And that's the reason for me to be here. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Alina.
Thank you for the presentation. So are you up and running in Spain?
Yeah, I mean, I still have the, because as I did this with the HR people from different companies, I'm going to pitch the solution to them so we can implement it. I have not doing that because I'm on the middle of my work season, but I will start doing that on June.
Okay, so you don't have actual customers or users that are testing or using your platform yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay, so you have the opportunity to use our feedback and formulate your positioning and and the customer acquisition strategy. So if from what I understand correctly, this tool is for employees to help give feedback, right? What's the relationship? Who's your customer? Who's the user? Who do you sell it to?
Yeah, I have different use on different customers, and none of them are paying for it. All right. At the end, when you search for job, it's a relation between the candidate and the company. So I want candidates to use this tool, and I want companies to understand how with this tool they can really help the candidate's experience, so they can also improve their brand reputation experience, the employer brand perspective.
Okay.
Neither of them pay any money from it. I just make money out of the information that I'm getting out of this thing, because at the end of the day, if a candidate gets feedback that you are not getting this job because you need to improve this and this and this skill, is something really easy to say, all right, I can sell you a training program for this, or build.
Okay. So I know we're short on time, so just really quickly, I think it will be helpful to see the both user and customer profiles. Who are the customers, who are the users? And for some reason, maybe I missed that, but I was thinking you are for businesses that, let's say you already have employees and it's a business, let's say manager gives the feedback to employees, but now it sounds like it's a candidates who are interviewing for a job. When they did not get a job, then they're getting feedback, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
in that case, yes, there might be some liability issues. So to be good to understand why employer, why would the business give feedback? Would they put themselves into that position? Even if you say it's anonymous, they still know it's going to come from that company because that's the company who interviewed that candidate. So it would be good to hear the testimonies from the interviews that you conducted to make sure that it's not just somebody, let's say I applied for a job, I didn't get it, I want to hear the feedback, but from the business side, why would they give the feedback? Because I know big companies like Google, like the FANG companies, they purposely do not give feedback to avoid any type of liability issues. So highlight that, because that's what, there might be obstacles for you in terms of the go-to-market strategy, but also from investor perspective, then see, okay, would you have any liabilities? In addition to that, later on, we can talk about monetization strategy, but at least right now from the customer persona, and then who are you targeting? And then what's, highlight this successes, in terms of the interviews and the feedback that you received.
All right. Thanks for that feedback.
Thanks,
Sure,
Alina.
thank you.
Deepti, any quick additions?
I think Alina covered it all. It was not very clear from the beginning as to who the customer is really. And I think other than just the personas that she's talking about, one extra step that I would go is really build out a customer journey map in this case, so that really understand when is that stage when that feedback is actually required or given. And at the same time, this liability issue, definitely, I do not see why businesses would do that. They have to have some incentive for that. So yeah, I would just leave it at that. That's really, the problem is not really very well carved out as of now.
Thanks for the feedback.
Thanks, Javier. Up next, Preeti from DigiCloset.
Yeah, hi.
Preeti, you are there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Preeti.
Hi.
Javier, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So hi, I'm Preeti, and today I welcome to the world of a digital closet. Have you ever thought, like, when you look around, all your documents are digitally stored, your signature is digital, and still your clothes and accessories which lies in your closet is not digital, you cannot access it on real time? Or maybe have you came across a situation where you have an important day, your closet is full, and still you cannot find an appropriate cloth or an accessory to wear, or you spend a quality time hunting for that cloth? So how would you feel if you could try your clothes and accessories in virtual reality, or plan your looks in advance for an upcoming vacation or any important event such as a marriage or a meeting with your super manager? How would you feel if you had your own personal stylist to recommend your new looks from your existing closet? So I welcome you to the digital closet, which help you to organize your clothes, accessories digitally, and is accessible on real time. Let your personal stylist take care of all your styling needs. This is my idea. This is at the very initial stage. It's at the concept stage. This is an application that I am envisioning, which will help you to get rid of your day-to-day hassles with respect to dressing up and making your own fashion statement. My target customers are both B2B and B2C. From B2C, I target the direct individuals who would like to have their closets organized digitally, accessible, and who believe in sustainability by reusing their own closet items. From B2B, I target the customers from wedding planners or the event managers and the holiday planners and the travel agency. So yeah, this is it. I don't have a big pitch, but yeah.
Thanks, Preeti. Alina, quick
Sure, thank you.
feedback.
Thank you for the presentation. You probably know that the digital kind of the virtual closets or digital, it's a, I won't say crowded, but it's a semi-decently crowded space in the sense of a lot of companies trying to create this, virtual wardrobe that you can try outfits, new outfits versus in your case, it sounds like you take existing clothes that you have in your wardrobe, if your accessories, and you create a digital version of it, right? So then you can pick and choose what to wear. So there's already a lot of underlying assumptions on that. Geographies, user profiles, somebody who likes to dress up and put all these things. When you start, and it's again, general comment for everyone, when you start a presentation, have you ever assumed that whatever you're gonna say is applicable to the majority of the audience? Because I doubt for the majority of this audience, not a lot of us would like to, have a digital closet and pick and choose clothes. So if you're starting off like, have you ever brushed your teeth? And it's like, well, yes, everyone brushes teeth, but not a lot of people do this. So if you have a specific profile of customers or users in mind, say, hey, we believe you that there is a category of people who love dressing up, who love to see their clothes digitally, who love to, change, just highlight that there's this persona, there's this demographic, there's this many, there's a big segment, there's this opportunity there. And this is the problems that they have, that they, when there's an event, when they have to go somewhere, they don't have their closet available. So it's not easily organized. Formulating from the user, and then again the user journey, when something like this happened, why would they use this instead of going, getting their digging in their closets? What would be an event would be helpful to see. And of course, the formulating again, this user profile, journey, or value proposition. What would be unique that you offer that they cannot currently get compared to other options that's potentially already out there?
Thanks, Elena.
Thanks, Alina. Deepti.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. One of my favorite topics. I've actually worked on this whole project with Zalando, and I know how exactly virtual styling is done. And what you're up to is a very, very, very tough task if it is something that you want to do with a user doing it at home, because it requires a lot of virtual reality, a lot of investment. I do not know if you've done enough of consumer interviews yet, because the kind of person that you're talking about who likes to dress up would maybe not want a stylist, because they would like to create their own styles or curate their own styles. So do enough research, as Alina said as well, as to what is their need actually and why do they want to do it. Also, if you're saying that they would suggest styles from within your wardrobe, who's going to do that? I mean, are you hiring stylists for that? Because if it's something which is computer generated, then there is no guarantee that it's going to be a good style. How are you going to understand what styles they want to go for? Is it bohemian? Is it fashion? Is it, is it office, or is it wedding? I don't know, any of those things. So, I mean, really, I think you need to first and foremost go speak to your customers, understand their problem, and see if it's something really that speaks to them. Another thing is, I don't know if you know, there are a lot of other, and not just virtual reality, but there's also a lot of these fabricant and these kind of services which are available, where people just dress up digitally and then put their pictures on Instagram, and that's what all they care for. And those kind of services, what they want to do, then maybe it's something that is what you're working on is completely useless as well. So a deep end market research is required in your project right now before you actually move with the project forward.
Thanks, Deepti.
Thanks, Deepti, and thanks, Preeti. Finally, the last one for today, Jing, you are up next.
Yes, let me share my screen.
Awesome.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Are you able to see my screen? Sorry. Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, we can see your screen. Yeah, yes. We can see your screen, and
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My project is about to reduce the landfill with AI technologies. The ecosystem of reducing landfill is very big, but the core directly related to the landfill part is there are four parties: the city who design the policy, residents who do the pre-sorting, and the waste pickup companies who transfer the waste to recycling stations, and recycling station which does the recycling and put the rest trash into landfill. There is an accessory that is the lab, which does the test on the percentage of recycle for the recycling station. So our first step will focus on the recycling station and the lab test. The reason is that the recycling station needs a way to monitor the percent recycled, and the city also needs the data to understand how they can adjust their policy and design their policy. And right now, the monitoring is based on a lab test, which is not scalable. So we provide a more scalable solution based on AI technologies so that we will use visual scanners to understand, to recognize the recyclables from the landfill. And we will also provide a web platform for the dashboards so that the city and recycling station can monitor the rate. The whole market size for reducing landfill or the zero waste actually is very big. For California, we estimate it's about 22 billion to 25 billion. Our go-to-market strategy will be that first we will start with the local recycling stations and then expand to the whole nation. My background is about the technology, and we also have 2 board members background with marketing and project management. Thank you.
Thank you, Jing. Alina?
Thank you for the great
Feedback.
presentation. Very, very important topic for all of us to understand and address. So a couple of questions. First of all, thank you for overlying the overall, end-to-end where we get the, initiation of the recycling process and then where it ends up in the landfill. So from what I understand, what you're doing, you have AI video monitoring of landfill in general. And what AI is doing is trying to kind of like pinpoint what's the percentage of the, of all the garbage that's in a landfill is recyclable. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes.
So maybe, so maybe it would be good to know to also like how you potentially do that. Is like object recognition, what is it? And is it like, if it's when it's dumped in the landfill, if it's a process, because I know some of the processing facilities, they use cameras and they, depends on what kind of processing facility it is, they actually separate some of the, recyclables, will take the recyclables out, depends what facilities, the capacity and how automated the process itself. But you're tackling it, your problem has 3 components. Of all of those 3 components, you're solving one, or are you trying to collect the data to support and help solving the other 2?
We actually, well, this is the first step. We start with to understand the recyclable, to recognize the recyclables from landfill, and we provide the data into a platform so that the city can monitor the data. Other companies can also purchase the membership fee or a subscription fee to access the data to improve their
Sure. Well, so let's get to subscription fees and memberships because that's a little bit later. So you need to tie in. So there's a complex problem. You're breaking it down in 3 buckets. You say the first step, we do this. We tackle this first problem. We understand percentage that is recyclable as as your like final metric. Then with that metric, we can help solve the second problem. We can change the regulations, policies that help cities to recycle more. Right. So if you highlight these like 1, 2, and then as the last step, you can, create some kind of business model to work with businesses and so and so. Right. So I think if you tie that in, you're kind of like your core metric to the problem solving, it will be easier for us to understand like what are you trying to do? What is the output of your sort of products or your services? Because at the end of the day, somebody needs to pay for this. And right, so it's going to be initially cities, what I assume, or recycling companies, whether they're private or funded by the city municipalities, right? But if there's additional source of revenue, like you can highlight that later, but showing kind of like your overall like end-to-end use case is helpful from the businesses, from the government, and then maybe to the businesses, but you're giving this key metric of understanding percentage of recyclable materials and how you do that in the process.
Great feedback. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Alina. Deepti, any quick words from you?
Thanks. I think it's a great problem to solve, but it's also a very the market which is very saturated. A lot of startups are trying to solve this problem at this point in time as well. So adding on to what Alina said was that also what exactly it is that you're trying to solve. And what I really liked about your presentation was that you actually took one slide in the beginning to explain what the different processes are, because that's something who's not coming from the industry. It's very interesting for them to understand which part you're trying to solve. But at the same time, there are certain problems. For instance, one of the problems that I know of is that you have a lot of errors in this recognition, right? And if that's something that you're able to solve, that could be your differentiator, as an example, right? I mean, what is your differentiator in whatever you're trying to do? Secondly, what I also believe is in terms of, it's the AI monitoring, if it's with the video or maybe sensors. Primarily, there are three kinds of recognition that is done, which is the product, brand, and material. And that is where what Alina was saying, who's going to pay for it, is exactly from where you're going to kind of get to it. If it's a product recognition, so packaging or food versus non-food, etc., then it's a very different kind of people who are going to pay for it. If it's a material recognition, if it's bottles or plastics, etc., then it's a very different kind of customer that you're after. And if it's a brand, for instance, the SKUs of a Coca-Cola bottle or something like that, then be a very different customer. So I think identifying those areas are also very important for you to be able to kind of build some sort of niche in the category that you're after. That's 2 cents from me.
Got it. Thank you.
Can I add
Thanks.
something to that? Anyway, we are over time. So revenue, who else would pay for it apart from city councils and governments? Someone like Plume, right? If you're addressing exactly one specific, let's say, government sector. I've just sent to, there's the world's biggest recycling center, exactly the same using AI technologies. They're based in Sweden because we needed to do research on that. So I've sent her all the links. So you will see.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Avi, for the input. Thanks, Alina, for your time. Thanks, Deepthi, for your time and your inputs to the team. I know we went over, but we had a good coverage. There was only one team which was not there today, but thanks a lot for your time, and it was great hearing the pitches and the feedback from Alina, Steven, and Deepthi. Bye-bye.